Hello and welcome to another Dev Diary for Crusader Kings 3. This time it's number 27 and we're going to be talking about cultures and cultural innovations. At the end of this Dev Diary I'm also going to talk about the gameplay and map things that came out recently. Last week, I don't remember the exact day, but they came out last week, and there's a bunch of stuff that's already come out about the game. Some press has had access to it. I was not one of them, but some press has had access to it. They've played the game, and yeah, we can talk about some of the things that have been announced. So, let's get into this. Also, I'll just say at the start of the video, in case you missed it, there is a release date for CK3. It's the 1st of September, so not actually that far away. Yeah, we're gonna get our hands on it pretty soon. All right, let's get into this. Greetings, dear friends. I am Ewan, or Evan. Ewan? Call me Ewan. And welcome to the Cultural Dev Diary. Today we're going to be going over some familiar mechanics from CK2 and, relatedly, our decidedly less familiar all-new tech system. So, the basic structure of the cultural system will be fairly recognizable to many of you. Every country and character on the map has a culture representing usually the majority demographic for that country or the preferred customs of that character. Most cultures are based around a language, but some focus more on dialect or specific bodies of tradition, and a few are even primarily just regional. Every culture in turn belongs to a culture group. These are gatherings of several cultures that, whilst distinct from one another, are nevertheless closely related. Most often this is down to a shared root culture, but in a few cases cultures have been entered into the same group merely by cohabiting for a long period of time. This is something that shouldn't be new to anyone who's played Paradox games. This is pretty much word for word how you would describe the culture system in EU4 or Imperator. This is nothing new. Characters who come from completely different cultures will like each other less, with characters who come from different cultures within the same group taking a reduced penalty. Like CK2, this only matters within your realm, so you won't get grumpy at your neighbour for being different unless you're occasionally required to talk to the lad. Cultural preferences carry over to the peasantry. If the lord who directly holds a particular county doesn't share that country's culture, then that county will take a hit to popular opinion, with the hit being smaller if they're at least part of the same culture group. Nothing too revolutionary there. Of course, as this is only the direct holder of a county, having a good friend who understands the local customs in charge of all these strange foreign peasants can be an excellent way to stave off peasant revolts. So, but what about melting pots and culture splits? Still got them. We've even got some fancy new scripted events to make it easier than ever for modders to add their own. Culture conversion is also more easily accessible. Per the council tasks dev diary, this is now a council task performed by your steward. You can attempt to culture convert any county in your subrealm, though without an excellent steward or certain types of faith, it'll take a while. People seldom change their culture quickly or willingly. Very true. You want to see some maps. See how granular we're getting with our culture setup this time around. Well, maps I've got, how many new cultures can you pick out? That is quite a few, actually. So Irish is fairly... It's all over Ireland, fair enough. Norse, Dublin itself was founded by Vikings, so yeah, it makes sense that this area would be Norse. Welsh, I've got Wales. The Cornish seem to be in the same culture group there. Anglo-Saxon, this area would be Anglo-Saxon but controlled by the Norse. This is Anglo-Saxon but controlled by the Welsh. This area here is Cumbrian but occupied by, I guess, England. Then we've got Gaelic up there, Pictish. And yeah, it seems Cumbrian, Welsh and Cornish all part of the same culture group. Gaelic and Irish in the same culture group, that makes sense. Also Manc, although it looks more like this is a part of the Gaelic culture group, or Gaelic culture, rather than being its own individual culture. Alright, that's fair enough. Then we've got Galician Asturianese. Asturias and Leonese are merged. Then we've got Castilian, and then we've got Basque, Aragonese, and then finally Catalan. And then in the south, just all Andalusian. Is that wasn't the Islamic held lands in Spain fairly culturally diverse. That's one of the main things that people who praise this, Granada and such, always point to, that it is so much more diverse and culturally and religiously tolerant than the reconquisting Christians. But I don't know. This looks way more culturally diverse than this does. So I don't know. Well, I don't know. It just strikes me as odd, really. You would expect a little bit of diversity here, but who am I to say? Then in Germany, we've got Dutch, we've got Franconian, Saxon, Polabian, Pomeranian, Polish, Czech, Bavarian, and Swabian. Apparently this is not good. I personally don't have a clue about the individual cultures within Germany, but I know that One Pound Bavarian had quite a lot to say about Bavarian and Swabian culture, so you can go check out his video that he put out last week, because this is where this screenshot got shared first. DevDiary 26. So go check out his video on that if you want to know why this is terrible and wrong and stuff. I don't know, but he does apparently. So, moving on, we've got Africa, which is incredibly richly diverse in cultures. There are a ton here. Igbo, Edo, Yoruba, there are so many. That is quite a few different cultures, and it seems like quite a few different culture groups as well. Cultural and technology, right? In CK3, cultures mean a lot more than just a few points of opinion here and there. Cultures are now an integral part of our reworked system for technology, with eras, explicit innovations, and mechanics for tussling over the cultural heart of your people. Innovations are the very heart of CK3's technological system. Each one represents a thorough proliferation of an idea, a legal practice, or a specific technology, taken to heart by any given culture, or still weird and foreign no matter its advantages. As the game progresses, cultures will slowly become more and more accustomed to the various innovations, until each innovation is thoroughly embraced and ubiquitous amongst the people of that culture. At that point, an innovation is considered unlocked, and its unique benefits are accessible to characters and counties of the unlocking culture. Okay, so culture is, technology is basically tied to culture this time around, which is very, very interesting. So we've got Civic Advances here. Primogeniture is apparently something you've got to unlock, fair enough. Noblesse Oblige, Ermine Cloaks, Renaissance Thought. Alright, fair enough. Benefits for each innovation vary tremendously between them. Some unlock new and better forms of a succession law, some give bonuses to growth or incomes, and some allow access to specific men-at-arms, or even grant entirely new CBs. We have innovations for everything from battlements to bombards, from coinage to cranes and woot steel to weird DX. Pronounced perfectly. Leave me alone. I do know that for specific men-at-arms, things like Huskarls for the Norse are going to be in. That is mentioned in the IGN review of the game, which we're going to go into in a bit later. So it's good that they've got some specific, cultural distinction between, the different armies, which is always nice. Innovations broadly fall into one of three categories: military, civic, and special, each grouped together in the interface. Military and civic innovations typically cover what you might expect, martial and non-martial matters respectively. All cultures can eventually acquire all military and civic innovations. Special innovations behave a bit differently. A few are unlocked via special decisions and can only be acquired by taking those decisions, while some are cultural, requiring you to belong to a specific culture or culture group, but most are regional innovations. So we've got the Caballeros, Stammesherzogtum. That's the crown of the Holy Roman Empire? I'm fairly sure that's the crown of the Holy Roman Empire, which makes sense because this is a very German word. We've got Reconquista here and Gilman. Alright. I think these two are Spanish. This one's German. This one, I believe, is like Seljuk. Because I know in the 1212 AD mod for Total War Attila, There was Gulam, something like that, troops, and I think it's sort of related to the same thing. Anyway, regional innovations require you to either have at least a certain number of counties within a specific area to unlock, or else to have a certain percentage of your culture's total counties within that area. They represent concepts and technologies that were specific to certain areas historically, rather than spreading across large areas of the globe, but which could be very easily have been developed by any culture moving into that area. Needless to say, innovations, the bonuses they provide, and the mechanics they unlock are all fully scriptable and can be modded with ease. But how do I unlock an innovation? Okay. All innovations have a small chance to progress towards being unlocked per month, affected by a few factors, with the most telling one being average development of the sum counties a culture holds. A culture that spreads recklessly will have naturally slower growth than one that exists in concentrated pockets of high development. The major ways generation progress towards unlocking innovations are setting, fascinations, and exposure. Each of these only affect a single innovation at a time, though both happen simultaneously. Exposure is a natural process, occurring when your culture has counties that border another culture with a specific innovation. The more you have in common, culture group, religion, and so on, with that other culture, the more of its counties your culture borders, the faster you'll unlock that innovation. Alright. You can set your cultural fascination saying, oh, I'm fascinated with onagers. I mean, clearly, you got to be fascinated by trebuchets, and that's a fascination that goes on until 2020, at the very least, and possibly even further, because, I mean, it's a fucking trebuchet, and who isn't fascinated by those behemoths of siege warfare? Clearly, it's great. Anyway, moving on. Cultural head is fascinated by this innovation, boosting its progress. The cultural head can at any time choose to be fascinated by another innovation. So, alright. Expected. Oh, you actually get an expectation for, how long it's going to take. Fair enough. 57% chance to get 0.36% progress each month. You can have fascination giving plus 52% to the amount. That's kind of insane. You take that away and this number goes way down. Or maybe this number goes way down. One of the two. 0.36. Yeah, it's these two. And then the chance is here. So do you take this away? There's only a 5% chance to get 0.36. That would massively increase the amount of time it takes. So having something be a fascination is going to be super important. From this, it doesn't particularly look like you're going to be able to just get technologies or innovations passively. Although Finland was not massively developed in this period, so maybe I'm wrong, but unless there's something else that you can add to base chance, even if this was really high, the average development of Finnish counties was fucking huge. 5% chance is not a lot, especially compared to what fascination does. It's crazy. Fascination, by contrast, is an entirely character-driven process, reflecting the drive of powerful leaders to introduce new concepts and technologies, be they original or imported, to their people. Where exposure is selected randomly from suitable innovations, fascination is deliberately selected by a specific character. Who gets to pick? Why, the cultural head. So the cultural head here is Maharana Durlabharaja, the second of Rajputana. Nailed that pronunciation, didn't I? It's great. Fantastic. So he's fascinated with royal prerogative. Ooh, I wonder why. Any culture with at least one landed ruler somewhere has a cultural head, who then has complete control over which fascination is selected from available innovations. The cultural head always shares the culture they are the head of, and is the character with the most counties of that culture within their subrealm in the world. Oh god, no. This is super gamey. This is super gamey. Is that even a cultural head? Doesn't seem like something that actually exists at all. The ruler with the most provinces is apparently responsible for an entire culture, and they get to decide what fucking technology you focus on. Oh, not a fan. Not a fan. That doesn't sound good. As you can imagine, the size of the culture makes a difference in how easy it is to become and stay cultural head. There are many more Andalusian counties than there are, say, Cornish ones. An important factor in unlocking innovations via fascination is the learning skill of the cultural head. An unlearned cultural head doesn't do much to bring new ideas and technologies to their people, but an erudite scholar knows who to invite to court, how to phrase ideas in the way peasants will accept, and how to get the nobility to see the benefit of embracing a foreign concept. What I've done on this channel quite a lot is when I say I don't like something, I generally try and come up with an alternative. And this is the first time that I'm reading this, so that was like my gut reaction is no, it doesn't sound good. So I didn't have when I was reading this just now, I didn't have a replacement in mind. But I think I've kind of come up with something. Maybe this number can go way, way down, and then all independent rulers, maybe all independent rulers share, say there is 100% worth of fascination. All rulers of that culture would share their load of that 100%, and then they could all have individual fascinations. So, if France is all balkanized, all of the French independent lords would all have a different fascination, and they would all share a percentage of 100 to add to this. So you would have more things being progressed, more innovations being progressed, but they wouldn't be as, really focused in on one specific thing like onagers. But then if you want to, make sure that your ruler has the most percentage, then, conquer the other fuckers. Subjugate them or what have you. That, I don't know. It's just something off the top of my head. I don't know. This just didn't seem all that good to me, honestly. Anyway, moving on to errors. You might be thinking this sounds a little bit disorganized. What stops me, say, unlocking bombards in the 900s and blowing my enemies away with oversized cannons for the next 500 years? The answer to that is errors. So, we've got tribal error here. There is what looks like 4 errors. Okay. In CK3, all innovations are organized into one of 4 eras before being categorized into military, civic, or special. In order to begin unlocking innovations from an era, you need to actually have reached that era. If an innovation belongs to the tribal era, no problem. All cultures start with the tribal era reached, and many primarily feudal cultures will start with the most, if not all, of its innovations unlocked, especially in 1066. For the eras beyond that, the early medieval, high medieval, and late medieval, you need to meet 2 criteria. The date must be at least an appropriate minimum year. For example, the High Medieval period cannot start before 1050, and you must have at least 50% of the preceding era's innovations unlocked. Further, if your cultural head is tribal, you will be unable to progress to the next era until you obtain a non-tribal cultural head. Cultures that have just left the tribal era will unlock innovations faster for a time, allowing them to catch up a little as medieval social and legal structures begin sweeping their lands. Alright, well that definitely puts a bit of a cramp in the stay tribal forever style. I know some people are fond of, say, playing as the Norse and completely rejecting the influx of Christianity and, and civilized castles and shit. They'll just stay tribal. It's got its own benefits. But if you do that now, you're stuck to 19 innovations maximum. You're never going to get, the rest of them, which is, I do like moving out of the tribal era. I think it's a bit of an achievement, so it's not too worrying to me, but I would love to know if you are one of these people who loves staying tribal for the entirety of the game, what you think of this. So, if you're one of those people, thoughts in the comments, that'd be really appreciated. So, eras therefore let us gate technologies and features in stages, so that cultures which thrived in later centuries can still use their special bonuses, units, and features, but don't get them too anachronistically. And that about wraps it up for cultures and technology. I'll be around the thread to answer questions, blah 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 blah. Alright, so yeah, that's certainly some interesting stuff here. Certainly some interesting stuff. I'm happy with the vast majority of this. There's only a little bit that I'm like, a bit iffy on. But anyway, let's move into the forums and see if there are any interesting dev comments to read through. So, here we go. Seems like a very well received dev diary, so that's always nice. Although, are there any culture maps of the full 867 start date? I've seen some full 1066 going around, but the 867 one cuts most of Africa and Asia. We don't have Coptic in, but it doesn't say it's axed forever. Okay. Whether Coptic culture will be in Egypt. Okay. Alright. Can you give us a peek at the special innovations? Screenshot 6, my friend. Yeah, we saw all the screenshots. Why is it a good idea to have a static error dates? Wouldn't it make much more sense to have dynamic criteria? What happens, for instance, if your culture has unlocked everything available for its time period? It just has to wait for the right year to arrive before it can progress further. The title is Balance, so that such a situation is unlikely to commonly appear. Maybe once per game for the player if we're really trying to breakneck progress through innovations and little else, but here I'm afraid that yes, that is the case. You can definitely be quite far ahead technologically. You can even be immensely far ahead of less developed cultures, but there is a slight upper limit to exactly how much more advanced you can be. I'm okay with that, sort of. I am okay with it, other than the aforementioned, if someone wants to stay tribal, then they're always going to be fucked. I feel like there maybe could be a second era for tribals, perhaps. Something really focused on rejecting the ideas of centralization. I don't know. This is pretty cool. It'd be cool to have a full list of the cultures. Are melting pots or culture splits the same as in CK2, or are there new ones too? Mostly old ones from CK2, handful of new ones, and hopefully many more to come over time. Cultures are a lot of fun to make and implement, but we've also got to do a fair amount of research to try and get them right. So it's something that we'll doubtless add going forward. Melting pots, when you're thinking of the most common example of that from CK2, it would probably be in 1066 when William the Bastard, William the Conqueror, William Bastard, depending on who you are, comes and invades and conquers England. He brings Norman culture into an Anglo-Saxon region, and that is the birth of English culture. And that's that melting pot. Culture splits. I should know this, but I can't remember. I can't remember culture splits, but if it's just slipping my mind, so if you want to chuck that in the comments too, that would be great. Speaking cultures vaguely, will poganstvo be changed? In most Slavic languages, it means very bad things. So far, there's been no word on the devs' thoughts about this. Understandable that it's not Slavic in Slavic faith group, but still, being derogatory seems like a step back. Poganstvo has been changed. I have no idea what that means, but yeah, if you're Slavic and that means like something really shitty, then of course, yeah, definitely does be changed. And yeah, I would not be surprised to see more things like this changed if they appear. The culture group, not the culture, the religious group Eastern in the game used to be called Oriental, which has very negative connotations associated with it, and that's got changed to Eastern now. It's still pretty shitty that Zoroastrian is a part of that, but it's just the Paradox devs learning and changing and being more accurate. I don't know how I feel about the Anglo-Saxons as a single culture. In 867 there seems to be a distinction between the Angles of Northumbria, Mercia and East Anglia as opposed to the Southern Saxons. Alfred the Great began the efforts of unifying the two cultures, but Mercians continued considering themselves different people from the Saxons long after his death. Therefore I'd suggest that in 867 there would be cultures of Saxon and Anglish, but in 1066 they would have melted into Anglo-Saxon. It's something that's been discussed a little internally, but we've no firm plans on it yet, and it won't be like this for launch, I'm afraid. Alright, well, that's a shame. I mean, Southerners thinking that they're better than the rest of England is something that has happened forever. The Southerners continue to think they are superior, and as someone who is from the north of England, fuck the Southerners. Anyway, moving on. Is there a Briton culture? What about Icelandic? Not quite sure what you mean by Britain. We have three Brythonic cultures: Cornish, Cornish, Welsh, and Breton. But Britain in the Roman sense is long dead by 867, and British in the modern sense is almost 1,000 years away. Icelandic, as in CK2, is represented by Iceland, alone retaining Norse culture in 1066. That's going to be playing faction. Does technology you have access to, say succession laws, depend on the character's culture or the province culture of the capital? Character culture. And what prevents some Scottish backwater noble to flip culture to Greek and have his heir educated as Greek and immediately gain access to all innovations unlocked by Byzantium? I don't think your vassals are likely to take that well, and the peasants will resent some uppity foreigner coming in and telling them that their traditions are bugging, at least until you educate them till they think they're Greek too. Selling your local traditions down the line for technological advancement is sadly a bit of a human tradition, I'm afraid. Alright. Crusader Kings has finally embraced the division of the Middle Ages in Dark Age, Feudal Age, Castle Age, and Imperial Age. Yeah, that definitely sounds pretty Age of Empires-y. We have preemptively mined all stone from the new map, so only PDS will be able to build castles, but that's more of a security thing, you understand, naturally. What if I'm the head of more than just one culture? Characters only get one culture and you can't be the head of the culture you don't belong to. Fair enough. Is it possible to change character culture? Yes, but not easily. Does this imply that cultural heads don't have to be independent? Some of the early screenshots seem to imply they have to be independent. They do not have to be independent. Many won't be, since we'll have more than a few mighty empires scattered around that totally subsume cultures within their borders. Okay, that's good. That's good to know. That is very good to know. How hard requirement is there on the system for there to always be a cultural head? Technically possible to not have a head. You need to have absolutely no landed rules of the culture, but you're not disadvantaged for it. Such cultures get random fascination and innovate as though they had a cultural head with poor but not terrible learning. Okay. Will there be cultures without cultural heads? That's one we just answered. How does changing culture work as a non-member? I suppose there is no county-level tech now. No county-level techs anymore, I'm afraid. I'm unsure what you mean about changing culture as a non-member. Alright. I don't know either. I'm so in love with the system and how you've taken the most unfleshed out parts of CK2 and combined them, but I've so many things to wrap my head around. It certainly makes it hard. If you're really determined, you can still... that's this one. Does not clamp down or entirely eliminate staying tribal long term? Yes, that's what I was saying, which is very much viable in CK2, tech economy and taxes be damned. If you're really determined, you can still do it, but your neighbours will slowly begin to outpace you technologically over time. Gotta fucking murder them all then. How will new but historical cultures emerge in CK3? Oh yeah, Portuguese would be one of the culture... no, it's the merger, not the split. Depends on the culture. Some come about via decision, some via event, so it's fairly case by case. Typically, a new culture takes all non-specific innovations from its predecessors. For example, Norman takes all of the non-special innovations from both French and Norse. Do some of these emerging cultures have special innovations like the cultures present at start? Some do, depends on culture and religion. How about when my character changes cultures? Do I instantly adopt the new culture's tech and innovations? Is there a cooldown for when the player can change cultures again? It's not quite so trivial a thing to change your culture, but yes, you gain access to the effects of the innovations instantly. Alright. Are there going to be split-off cultures events for Cisalpine? We don't have anything for splitting Cisalpine at the moment. That's a shame, because Cisalpine is a stupid name. Yeah, some of us are very confused by Cisalpine culture and Italian culture on the same map. Yeah, because Cisalpine culture isn't a fucking thing. It should be Lombard. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I've got the game open right now. We can see what it is in 1066. Just, I don't care. Anyone. Just show me the fucking culture map mode. It's all Italian. All Italian. There's no... I mean, Lombard's down here. it's just Cisalpine wasn't a thing. I mean, I do like the breakup of the different cultures in the new game in CK3. Like, German, just a big block of German being split up into the various different types of German. I am okay with that. I am definitely okay with that. But yeah, Cisalpine is just another thing that I'm not sold on. Love to hear about some of the melting pots and decisions agreed to that Basques should extend into Aquitaine. With some exceptions, mostly special... it's this one. Are there still cultural specific features like Basque, Zhangjung, equality, and Tanistry? Do they count as special innovations? If so, does that mean Irish and Welsh, etc. can only use Tanistry in certain areas? With some exceptions, these are mostly special innovations now, or decided by faith doctrine if appropriate, but yes, they're still around. To be clear, special innovations are restricted in where and who can develop them, but not in where they can be used. Irish characters could still use Tanistry in India if they ended up there. Technology is bound to culture or culture group? Culture. Is it possible to easily change our own culture like in CK2 in one click? It's probably a little bit more difficult than that. What happens when we change culture? We lose the innovation from the old culture, like specific men-at-arms disappear. Yes to losing access to old innovations that your new culture lacks. Men-at-arms do not disappear, but you can't recruit any more of a type you no longer have access to. I want to know, since technology is related to culture, if I'm a Celtic ruler and own a lot of Norse provinces, will I be able to have Viking longships? Yeah, no, you won't, because fucking ships don't exist in the game. Actually, yes, per the dev diary, if either a certain percentage of counties within Scandinavia were to become Irish, or a total percentage of Irish counties were in Scandinavia, you'd be able to start unlocking the longships innovation as your culture would have effectively become part of the Scandinavian cultural sphere. Alright, that's interesting. Still, though, longships being an innovation, it's probably something to do with, naval movement speed or some shit. It surely isn't about, I can build these boats, because you can't build boats. You just move your troops into the into the sea. Wait until you read the next dev diary on monks and religious conversion. It's titled Wallalo. Nice. Is Gaelic a correct term for Proto-Scottish? I mean, Irish are also Gaelic. I suppose that Gaelic represents the Irish who settled in Scotland, the Dal Riata. Maybe Irish split from Gaelic? Gaelic is not a term for Proto-Scottish, but for the mainland Gaels. Scottish culture splits from Anglo-Saxon in de jure Scotland. Right? Scotland in 1066 is actually one of my favourite cultural setups in the game, as the battle for hegemony of Alba could go either way between the Highland Gaels and the Lowland Scots, or you could be cool and bet on the Cumbrian underdogs, though they're doing much better in 867. Alright. Could you be so kind as to say what the Reconquista innovation does? It increases passive piety gain, which is great, and decreases Holy War CB piety cost. Makes the Reconquista much more lively. Cool. What the game really needs is minority cultures and religions. Maybe not everywhere, as some regions were monolithic, but there should be the option to have minorities in counties. I agree. Solid agree. Nice new direction for CK3 to take. Looking forward to get my hands on it. Y'all got any more of these culture map mode screenshots? Be nice. It'd be nice if there was more. But I can show you some maps in a moment. There's so much. There's so much. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm going to leave a link to this forum post so you guys can look yourself, but I do not have the time to go through all of this, especially when I have something else to show you. So, first off, we're going to look at the... what's it called? We're going to look at the trailer. The old trailer and the new trailer put together, because it's actually really, really good and they go really well together. Then we're going to have a look at some of the gameplay and I'll talk about my thoughts on it. So, yeah, enjoy this.
Young William, you are the heir to a great legacy. In time, armies of thousands will be yours to command. Knights will flock to your banner, and with the gold that will flow from your lands will come great influence. A good marriage could anchor your bloodline for generations to come and secure the throne. But the ways of power are hard, and there are many lessons to learn, young William. And today, you will learn the most important of all. Real strategy requires cunning. Your brother was lost thanks to the deceit and treachery of your enemies. Now, the weight of your bloodline lies on your shoulders. Be thankful to your enemies, for they teach you the ways to power. You must learn the ways of commerce and combat, but never fight with swords when a dagger will do. Keep your enemies close. The first step in avoiding the trap is knowing it is there. Real strategy requires cunning. Remember that, and your dynasty will rule this land through the ages.
That is, in my opinion, a bloody awesome couple of trailers, and that is actually all I've got time for this video. But just on my thoughts on the trailer a second. The first one was about the heir that was murdered in the crib and never got to see the light of day. The second trailer was all about his younger brother taking power and, you know, growing into a man. The third trailer, the third story trailer, has to be about that character, that guy that we just saw, you know, going through his life, dying and passing his dynasty on to the next character. That's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, I was going to go into the various gameplay footage that we've seen. I've got a whole reel of that to show, and also the IGN article, the PC Gamer article, GameSpot article, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to leave links to those in the description below. I purely do not have the time for it right now. I am really stuck for time nowadays. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this dev diary. If you did, feel free to leave a like. I would love to know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you excited for what you see here? Release date of, you know, the 1st of September. It's coming up pretty soon. I'm very, very much on board. There are certain things in this dev diary and other dev diaries that I've been like iffy on, but in general, I'm on board. I'm on board. So I'd love to know what you guys think. So leave your comments down in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.